For as long as I can remember, I've known that I have a twin sister. Her name is Yao, and we look exactly the same. Our eyebrows, eyes, and nose look like they were carved from the same mold. But other people can tell us apart at a glance. Yao always has a light in her eyes. Her words are as sweet as honey. She'll pull on our parents' sleeves to act cute. She'll stand on her tiptoes to hand snacks to our older brother. At 3, she could recite the 3-character classic. At 5, she could recite Moonlight before my bed. All the neighbors would praise the second daughter of the Willow family when they saw her. Truly a bright and clever, promising child. But I was different. I was slow-natured, didn't like to talk. When others teased me, I could only clutch the corner of my clothes and stare blankly. Memorizing my lessons took me 3 times longer than Yao. I'd stumble through it and still always get the words wrong. Me parents named me Nianan. I would always freeze for a moment before answering in a small voice, so they would often sigh at me. Their eyes were filled with disappointment, saying I was slow and stupid. I didn't inherit a bit of their talent or looks. It is as if I was born into the wrong family. The good things at home were always given to Yao first. Newly made brocade dresses. Yao got to pick the colors first. Super sweet malt candy. Yao got to take the first big bite. Even the wooden kite my big brother made by hand was the one Yao got to fly the highest. I never fought for them, and I didn't dare to. I only dared to watch Yao from afar, laughing while surrounded by Mom, Dad, and Big Brother. Occasionally, when Yao was in a good mood, she would give me half a piece of candy, or let me touch the wooden kite for a moment. I would be overjoyed. Clutching that little bit of sweetness could make me happy for a whole day. I always told myself that I am the older sister, so I should let my little sister have her way. But in my heart, I secretly wished, if just for once, Mom and Dad would also smile and pat my head and say, "Our Nian is a good girl too." The year I was 5, the winter was especially cold. It was as if all the snow from previous years had been saved up. It snowed for a full 7 days and 7 nights. The branches of the plum tree in the courtyard were bent low by the weight, its bright red petals covered in thick snow, giving off a bone-chilling cold. That day at noon, Yao was leaning by the window, watching the snow. Suddenly started clamoring that she wanted to eat the osmanthus cake from the time-honored shop on East Street, saying that cake was sweet but not cloying. And it even had the fragrance of osmanthus. Mom and Dad were busy entertaining visiting colleagues at that time. They couldn't get away. So they told my 17-year-old brother Liu to take us. My brother had always doted on Yao the most. Hearing that, he immediately gripped Yao's small hand, telling him to bundle up in his fox fur coat. And also tucking a hand warmer in for him, completely forgetting about me following behind. I was wearing an old cotton padded jacket, the cuffs all worn white. In my hand, I clutched a small hand warmer that was about to go cold. I trudged unsteadily behind them. The snow was so thick it came past my ankles if I walked a bit faster. I'd easily slip. I hadn't taken more than a few steps when my ankle twisted, and I fell hard into the snow. The hand warmer rolled far away. Landing in a pile of snow, it went cold in an instant. The tip of my nose stung from the pain. I wanted to cry but didn't dare. I could only push myself up with my arms, trying to get up, but my brother turned back and shot me a harsh glare. His brows were furrowed into a knot. His tone was full of impatience. "Why are you so clumsy? You can't even walk steadily. What if you make Arya late for buying pastries?" Arya turned back and smiled at me, her eyes crinkling into crescents, like the most beautiful plum blossom in the courtyard. "Don't worry, sister. When I buy the osmanthus cakes, I'll give you a big half." That smile was so soft and sweet. My heart warmed up a bit watching this. I was just about to respond. Then I saw Ada suddenly squat on the ground, clutching her tummy. Her little face instantly turned as pale as a sheet. Cold sweat trickled down her forehead. Her lips were trembling. She couldn't even get a word out. My brother was so scared his face turned pale. He immediately held Yao in his arms and ran home like a madman, constantly shouting for Yao. "Hold on." I desperately chased from behind. Snow pellets pelted my face, stinging raw like little stones. I fell several times. My padded jacket was covered with snow, shivering all over from the cold. But I didn't dare to stop. I was afraid something would happen to Amy. Afraid I'd never again see the little sister who would share her candy with me. By the time I stumbled my way back home, Mom and Dad had already called for the most famous doctor in town, Dr. Smith. The doctor checked Amy's pulse, and also flipped up her eyelids. Finally, he shook his head at Mom and Dad and sighed. The pulse was completely gone. There was nothing that could be done. That day, a small memorial altar was set up in the family's main hall. A white lantern was hung under the eaves. It swayed to and fro whenever the wind blew, looking exceptionally desolate. A small vermilion coffin was placed right in the middle of the mourning hall. It was only about half a person tall, like an exquisite but ice-cold little box. I knew my vibrant and lovely little sister was lying inside. She would never smile at me again. She would never fight with me over a piece of candy again. She would never call me sister again. I stood blankly outside the mourning hall. The snow was still falling on my hair, on my shoulders, but I couldn't feel the cold. I just felt empty inside, as if a piece had been carved out. My brother suddenly rushed over, his eyes red, and seized my arm. His strength was terrifying, as if he was going to crush my bones. I trembled all over from the pain, but I couldn't make a single sound. He stared at me. His eyes were completely bloodshot. Tears mixed with anger streamed down. His voice was raspy, like it had been scraped with sandpaper. Why wasn't it you who died? Liana, why was it Ava who died? Not you. Ava was so good, so smart. She could have taken care of Mom and Dad in their old age. She could have studied well, and you are so stupid, so slow. What is the use of you being alive? It should have been you who died. I opened my mouth wanting to explain that I didn't mean it, wanting to tell my brother that I adored Ayao too. But when the words reached my lips, they just turned into streams of tears falling down. Mom and Dad stood by the mourning hall, their eyes red and swollen like walnuts. Looking towards there wasn't a shred of tenderness in my eyes, only a bone-chilling disgust and hatred. Mom covered her mouth and cried. Her sobs were filled with despair. Dad turned his back. His shoulders trembled slightly. After a long pause, he finally uttered a sentence. His voice was as cold as the ice outside. We don't ever want to see you again, you jinx. It was you who jinxed Ayao to death. Send him to the southern frontier. Give him to his grandma for the rest of his life. Don't let him take a single step back into the capital. I don't understand what a jinx is. I only know that Mom and Dad don't want me anymore. My brother hated me too. I became the extra one. Became the sinner who caused my little sister's death. That afternoon, the family's housekeeper, Nanny Wang, stuffed me into a shabby horse-drawn carriage. The carriage was lined with a thin layer of straw. There wasn't even a warmer. Nanny Wang looked at me, her eyes filled with a trace of pity. But she just sighed. Take care on your journey, miss. There is nothing this old servant can do. The carriage started to rumble and roll, getting farther and farther from the capital. I leaned against the carriage window, watching the familiar street scenes disappear bit by bit. Me tears were like pearls from a broken string soaking the front of my clothes. I didn't know where the southern frontier was. I had only heard people say that place was remote and desolate, with poisonous insects everywhere, and also miasma. Many people who went there never returned. I was terribly scared inside, but could only huddle in a corner of the carriage, hugging my knees and crying softly. I cried and cried until I fell asleep. My dreams were filled with the image of Ayao smiling and calling me sister. The carriage bumped along the whole way. It traveled for a whole month before finally stopping. My hands and feet were numb from the cold, aching all over. Wang Ma helped me out of the car. Only then did I realize this place is completely different from Jingcheng. There was no pure white snow. Lush green trees were everywhere. A faint scent of herbs drifted in the air. There were also some wildflowers I couldn't name, blooming so vibrantly. Not far away, there was a small village, with walls of green bamboo and a roof of thatch. It looked very simple and rustic. An old woman in a coarse green dress was standing at the entrance to the village. Her hair was tied up in a simple bun, and the hair at her temples was a bit gray. His face was etched with the marks of time, but his eyes were clear and bright. With a kind smile, he saw me, his eyes immediately turned red. He walked over quickly, ignoring the dust on me, and pulled me into his arms. His embrace is warm, carrying a rich herbal scent it is. Besides Ayao's occasional affection, the first solid warmth I've ever felt in my life. My little girl, my poor little girl, the old woman stroked my head. Her voice choked with sobs, tears dripped onto my hair. You've suffered so much, my good little girl. From now on, you'll be with Grandma. Grandma will dote on you. I won't let anyone bully you ever again. So he was my maternal grandma. Mom had never mentioned him to me. I only found out later. Back then, Mom and Grandma had a falling out in a fit of anger. She married and moved to Jingcheng and never returned to Nanjiang again. Grandma took me back to her little bamboo house. The house was neat and tidy. Inside, the shelves against the wall were filled with dried herbs. On the table were a pestle and a mortar. She made me a bowl of piping hot ginger soup and found a clean, coarse cloth dress for me to change into. Watching me take small sips of the ginger soup, Grandma said, her heart aching. Look at this little face. You are frozen. So skinny. You are just skin and bones. From now on, Grandma will make you delicious food every day and get you all nice and plump. I snuggled in Grandma's arms. Finally couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out crying, letting out all the fear from these past few days. All the grievances and sadness. Crying it all out. Cried until my voice was hoarse. Cried until I was completely drained of strength. Grandma just gently patted my back, saying over and over, Grandma's here. Nina, don't be scared. Grandma's here for you. Like a ray of warm sunshine, little by little, it dispelled the chill in my heart. The village Grandma lived in was called Greenwood Village. The people in the village were all farmers and herb gatherers who'd lived here for generations. Every one of them simple and kind. They saw Grandma had brought back a little girl from the imperial city, and they were all curious. But no one ever bullied me. Instead, they always stuffed wild berries and sticky rice candy into my hands and homemade coarse grain cakes. There was an old granny named Willow. She'd always pull me to her house to cook sweet potatoes for me, saying that sweet potatoes are sweet and good for your body. There was also a hunter named Jed. Every time he came back from hunting in the mountains, would always leave a chubby little rabbit for me for Grandma to make soup for me. Grandma is the miracle doctor of Green Bamboo Village. No matter who in the village had bumps and bruises, headaches, or a fever, they would all come to Grandma for treatment. Even for difficult and complicated illnesses, Grandma could cure it with her medicine. Everyone in the village respects and loves her. Grandma said I wasn't dull, just slow-natured, more meticulous than other people, and better able to focus on getting things done. A personality like this is perfect for studying medicine. At first, I was still timid, didn't dare to speak, didn't dare to play with the little kids in the village. Always followed behind Grandma, silently watching her gather and brew herbs, taking pulses for people. Grandma never forced me. She just took me along when going up the mountain to gather herbs, pointing to the herbs on the roadside. She'd explain to me, this is honeysuckle. It can clear heat and detoxify. This is buplorum. It can treat colds and fevers. This is heartbreak grass. It is extremely poisonous. Don't touch it. This is a blood-stopping vine. Crush it and apply it to the wound. It'll stop the bleeding very quickly. I found out I am probably not as dumb as Mom and Dad say I am. The knowledge of herbs that Grandma taught me, I can memorize it after seeing it just once. Even for herbs that look similar, I can tell them apart at a glance. When Grandma taught me how to brew medicine, my control of the heat was just right. When to add the ingredients, when to add the water. I remember it all crystal clear. Later, Grandma Alera taught me to identify acupuncture points. Holding the thin silver needles in my hand, I wasn't scared at all. I could always find the right spot steadily. Grandma Alera would often laugh and ruffle my hair. Our Anya is cut out to be a doctor. Even better than Grandma Alera was in her youth. Meticulous in thought and sharp-eyed. In the future, you'll definitely become an even better miracle doctor than Grandma Alera. Listening to Grandma Alera's praise, my heart felt so warm. This was the first time someone didn't mind that I was slow. The first time someone said I was amazing. The days passed one by one. I slowly started to open up. Although I still didn't like to talk much, a smile gradually appeared on my face. Every early morning, I would follow Grandma Alara up the mountain to gather herbs, carrying a small medicine basket on my back. I'd tread on the morning dew, weaving through the bamboo forest and plants. Grandma would teach me how to identify poisonous fog, tell me which places had the most potent herbs, and how to avoid venomous snakes and bugs if we encountered them. One time, we encountered a small snake that was bright green all over. I was so scared I backed away. But Grandma just smiled and said it was a green bamboo snake. They look scary, but it is not very venomous and its gallbladder can improve your eyesight. Let's catch it and take it back once it is dried. It can be used for medicine as she spoke. She taught me how to use special bamboo tongs to clamp its tongue. I copied my grandma slowly. I stopped being afraid it was around when I was 6 years old while gathering herbs on the mountain. In a crack in a rock, I found a small, entirely snow-white centipede. It was only about the length of a thumb, barely breathing. It looked like it had been crushed by a rock. I felt bad for it, so I picked it up and used some herbs to bandage its wound. I carefully brought it home. When Grandma saw it, she didn't object. She just said that this centipede looked peculiar, that perhaps it was spiritual. I didn't expect that in just a few days. The little centipede was all better. It followed me around every day. It crawled wherever I went. I named it Tuanzi. Tuanzi is very well behaved if I say go east. It never goes west, it even actively helps me chase away little bugs. It became my little sidekick. The kids in the village were afraid of Tuanzi at first later. They saw that Tuanzi was gentle, and they're always following me gradually. I wasn't scared anymore. Sometimes I would even squat on the ground and watch Tuanzi crawl. There was a little girl 2 years younger than me named Annie. She'd always hold my hand and say, "Sister Nian, your Tuanzi is so awesome. Can he play with me for a bit?" I smiled and nodded. Tuanzi didn't make a fuss either. Obediently nestled in Leo's palm, making Leo giggle non-stop. There was also an older boy in the village, 2 years older than me, named Zach. He was a hunter's son. He was tall and well-built, with a cheerful and upright personality. He saw how soft-natured I was and was always worried I'd be messed with by the wild beasts in the mountains. Every time Grandma and I went up the mountain to gather herbs, he would always tag along, holding a woodcutter's knife in his hand, saying he wanted to protect us. Aju would take me into the mountains to pick wild berries. The wild berries were bright red, sweet, and even tastier than the malt candy from the capital. He would take me to the stream on the west side to catch little fish by hand, skewering them on branches to roast and eat. It smelled so good my mouth was watering. He would also weave things for me out of bamboo. The cute little bamboo baskets he wove were incredibly lifelike. One time, I followed Azu into the mountains to pick wild fruits. I accidentally missed a step, fell down a small dirt slope. My leg got scraped. I was bleeding so much, it hurt so much. I wanted to cry. Azu immediately ran down and put me on his back, sprinting toward the village. He kept comforting me. "Don't be afraid, Sister Nianan. We'll be at Grandma's house soon. It won't hurt anymore once we're home." Grandma bandaged my wound. Arthur stood to the side, so anxious he was sweating profusely, saying, "It is all my fault I didn't watch my little sister properly. From now on, I'll stick to you and never leave your side." I looked at his worried face and said in a small voice, "Brother Arthur, it is not your fault, I was just careless." He scratched his head, his face flushed red all of a sudden. He gave a silly smile. From then on, Aju really followed me every day. Whether I was gathering herbs, washing clothes, or cooking, he would always be standing guard nearby. If anyone dared to bully me, he was the first to charge forward. One time, a few wild kids from the neighboring Black Rock village came to Green Bamboo Village to make trouble. Seeing I was from the capital, they mocked me for being a dumb girl from the city. They even snatched my medicine basket. Aju got furious right away. He charged forward and got into a fight with them. His face was scraped up, the corner of his mouth was split. Too, but he still fought to get my medicine basket back and chased those wild kids away. I took out the herbs and put them on Azu. My heart ached as I asked, "Brother Azu, does it hurt?" He grinned, showing his white teeth. "It doesn't hurt. As long as I can protect my little sister, I am not hurt at all. The summer when I was 7 years old, dysentery broke out in the village. A lot of people were vomiting and had diarrhea. They were weak all over. Even walking was a struggle. Grandma was busy treating everyone. Her eyes were red from all the medicine she was brewing. So tired she couldn't even stand up straight. I saw how hard it was for Grandma. So I offered to help her brew the medicine and deliver it to the patients. Grandma taught me how to recognize the herbs for treating dysentery. I learned fast. She was excellent at controlling the heat when brewing medicine. She could also take a patient's pulse, just like her grandma, to see if their condition was getting any better. There was a 3-year-old little kid. He got dysentery. His condition was very serious. He had severe vomiting and diarrhea. His little face was a waxy yellow. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. His mom and dad were so worried they just kept crying. They knelt on the ground, begging Grandma to save the child. Grandma was giving acupuncture to another patient at the time. She couldn't get away. I looked at how miserable the little kid was. I remembered a method Grandma had taught me. I gritted my teeth and said, "Grandpa, Grandma, I'll give it a try." They were stunned for a moment, looking at my young age, their faces full of hesitation. Seeing this, Grandma nodded and said, "Let Ian do it. He has learned very well. He can do it." I took a deep breath, took the little baby's pulse, and also checked his tongue coating. Following the remedy Grandma taught, grabbed some herbs and brewed them into a medicinal liquid, and then pinpointed his Yongquan and Zuzanli acupoints, gently inserted the fine silver needles in less than an hour. The little baby stopped throwing up. His complexion looked a bit better too. Another day passed. He was able to sit up and eat. The little child's parents held my hand and kowtowed to me several times, crying and saying, "Thank you so much, little miracle Dr. Nianan. Thank you for saving our child." From then on, the people in the village doted on me even more. They all called me the little miracle doctor. Whenever there was good food, they'd save it for me first. Whenever there was something fun, they'd bring it to me first. I totally became the little darling of Green Bamboo Village. Ju, especially, treated me like her own little sister. No matter what good thing she had, the first person she thought of was me. Grandma looked at me. Her eyes were full of pride, saying that all her love for me wasn't for nothing. When I was 10 years old, I had already become Grandma's capable helper. Grandma was getting old. Some of the hard and tiring work, like climbing high mountains to gather herbs, I would rush to do it all. I was skilled in everything from brewing medicine, taking pulses, acupuncture, to processing herbs. I could even identify some rare and precious herbs that even Grandma seldom saw. One time, a lost merchant came to the mountains. He had contracted a strange illness. His whole body was covered in red rashes, and it was unbearably itchy. He'd seen many doctors, but none could cure him. Passed by Green Bamboo Village, heard that Grandma was highly skilled in medicine, so he came seeking medical treatment. Grandma examined him for a long time, but wasn't sure about the right remedy for a while. I went over and took the merchant's pulse and also looked at his red rash. I remembered Grandma once talking about a herb called clearwind herb that could cure this strange illness. But this herb grows on steep cliffs and is very difficult to pick without Grandma knowing. I had a Jew accompany me to the cliffs to pick the herb. A Jew disagreed at first, saying it was too dangerous, but I said the merchant was dying. We can't just stand by and watch him die in the end. A Jew couldn't talk me out of it and went with me to the cliffs. He held the rope from below, and I climbed up the rope with great difficulty. I reached the clearwind herb. After returning, I used the clearwind herb mixed with other herbs to brew a medicinal bath for the merchant. In just a few days, the merchant's rash cleared up, and he was well again. The merchant was grateful to the point of tears. He left Grandma and me a lot of silver and said to let him know if we ever needed anything. Grandma looked at the qingfeng grass I had gathered and was both angry and heartbroken, scolded me for messing around. Yet she still patted my head and said, "My little girl has grown up, has the heart of a healer, is Grandma's good granddaughter." I gradually realized back then in the capital city I wasn't stupid. It is just that my heart was too sensitive. Yao is lively and outgoing, sweet-tongued, and knows how to handle people. All eyes were naturally drawn to her, so I'd habitually hide myself away, afraid to speak, afraid to make a mistake, terrified of making Mom and Dad unhappy. Over time, I was seen as slow and stupid, but here, nobody compares me to Ayao. Nobody looks down on me for being slow. They see the good in me, they see my thoughtfulness, they dote on me like a treasure. But sometimes I still think of the capital, I think of that tiny vermilion coffin, I think of my brother's scoldings, my parents' loathing sometimes. I dream at night. I'll dream of Ayao in a beautiful tight dress. She smiles at me and says, "Sis, you have to be okay." Then she turns around and disappears. I reach out to grab her, but I can't catch anything. My pillow is always wet when I wake up. Grandma knows what is on my mind. At night, she'd sit by my bed, hold me and say, "Sweetie, let the past be the past. Those people who don't cherish you are not worth keeping in your heart. If you are feeling upset, just tell Grandma. Grandma is here with you. When you are a bit older, if you want to go back to the capital to see Grandma, I'll go back with you. If anyone dares to bully you, Grandma will have your back." It was the winter of my 12th year. The southern frontier had a rare snowfall. The weather was exceptionally cold. Grandma's asthma suddenly flared up, and it was worse than in previous years. Her coughs were gut-wrenching. Sometimes she coughed so hard she couldn't even straighten her back. She couldn't even eat. I checked Grandma's pulse and brewed her medicine. I tried a lot of different remedies, but they could only treat the symptoms, not the root cause. Grandma was getting weaker and weaker. Her face was a waxy yellow. Her eyes had lost their old sparkle. I was so worried I cried. I asked Grandma what to do, panting. Grandma held my hand and said, "Nina, for this sickness of mine, ordinary herbs are no use. Only the human placenta from the Royal Medical Institute in the capital, and 1,000-year-old ginseng to keep her hanging on, and then slowly nurse her back to health." Seeing my grandma look so miserable, my heart ached as if being cut by a knife. I immediately decided to take Grandma back to the capital city. No matter how much the capital city scared me, no matter how much my parents and older brother hated me, I have to go. I have to save Grandma. She is the closest person to me in my whole life. I can't lose her. Brother Aju heard that I was taking Grandma back to the capital city and immediately said he wanted to come along. He said the people in the capital city are complicated. Afraid of being bullied, he wants to protect us. The people in the village heard about it. They all came to see me off. Granny packed me a full bag of dried sweet potatoes. She said to eat them when I get hungry on the road. Uncle Hunter hunted 2 pheasants. For me, told me to make soup for Grandma on the way to help her regain her strength. Someone also slipped me some herbal powder for self-defense. They said to throw it if I run into any bad guys. It can temporarily immobilize them. Everyone reminded me again and again. Once I get to Kingsburg, I have to take good care of Grandma. If I am treated unfairly, I should hurry back to Green Bamboo Village. Green Bamboo Village will always be my home. They're forever waiting for me to come back, Grandma. Brother Aju. And I packed our luggage, bringing Tuanzi along, and rushed towards the capital in the carriage sent by that merchant. The carriage was much more spacious and comfortable than the one I took to the southern frontier back then. It was padded with thick cotton wadding, and there was a heater too. Grandma leaned back inside the carriage, feeling a bit better. Fluffy was lying on my shoulder, rubbing its little head against my face, as if it was comforting me. Brother Alex sat beside me, gripping a hatchet. He said, "Nina, don't be scared. I am here for you. No matter what happens, I've always protected you and Grandma." I looked at the scenery rushing by outside the window. I felt both nervous and anxious. It has been 7 years. Is Crown City still the way I remember it? Do Dad, Mom, and my older brother still remember me? Will they still be like they were back then, cursing at me, calling me a jinx, kick me out? But when I thought of my grandma's illness, I just gritted my teeth no matter what I had to get. The medicinal herbs from the Royal Infirmary, Bumpy, all the way traveled for a full half a month, finally arrived at the capital city. The Imperial City is 100 times more bustling than the southern frontier. An endless stream of carriages and horses. A hubbub of voices filled the air. Street vendors were hawking candied haws, sugar paintings, and osmanthus cakes. There were also all sorts of exquisite silks, satins, and jewelry. The familiar smells and sounds, bit by bit, began to stir my long-buried memories. The mansions on either side of the street were exceptionally grand. A vermilion main gate, stone lions guarding the house. It looks a lot like the Willows residence from my memory. Following the address my grandma gave me, I found the house where Mom and Dad are living now. Dad has since been promoted from ministry director. To prefect, they've also moved into a bigger house, blue bricks and dark tiles, flying eaves and upturned corners. 2 servants in uniform stood at the gate, with tokens hanging from their waists, looking quite imposing. The servants saw me wearing a coarse cloth dress from Southland, followed by a burly youth with a firewood axe on his back, and a pale-faced old woman. Their eyes held a hint of contempt and disdain. He looked me up and down, and coldly asked, "What business do you have here?" "This is the Willow Creek Prefecture office, not a place you can just casually enter." I took a deep breath, suppressed the nervousness in my heart, raised my head, and said word by word, "I am looking for Prefect Smith, John Smith. I am his eldest daughter, Nina Liu." The servant was stunned for a moment, obviously. He didn't expect anyone to say that. The contempt on his face turned into surprise. He was stunned for a long while before coming to his senses. He hurriedly said, "Wait here. I'll go in and announce you right away." After saying that, he dashed inside. Before long, a young man in a moon-white brocade robe walked out quickly. He was tall and had a straight posture. His features were handsome, with sword-like brows and star-like eyes. It is just that there was a lingering hostility between his brows. He was my older brother, Liu Jinyu. It has been 7 years. That boy from back then, still so immature, the little boy who only knew how to throw fits at me, has already grown into a dashing young man. But I still remember those eyes. Back then, these were the very eyes that glared at me, all red, screaming at me, asking why I didn't just die. Liu froze for a moment when he saw me. His eyes were full of shock. He stared hard at me, as if he couldn't believe his own eyes. After a long moment, he finally walked over step by step. His voice was trembling uncontrollably. You are Nianan. You are Willow Nianan." I nodded without saying a word. My gaze went past him, looking into the depths of the mansion. I wanted to see if Mom and Dad had come too. The grievances and sorrow of all these years surged up like a tide. How I wanted to ask them why they were so heartless back then, why they had to abandon me in the southern borderlands. Did they ever wonder if I would die on the way? Leo's eyes immediately turned red. He quickly walked forward, reaching out a hand to touch me, but then pulled it back as if afraid of scaring me. In the end, he still gripped my arm. The grip was as strong as it was back then, but the hatred from those years was gone. All that was left was caution and unconcealable guilt. "How have you been in Southgard all these years? Have you suffered? Was there no one to care for you?" He asked a string of questions. His voice was full of self-blame. Dad and Mom. We've missed you so much all these years. We've been talking about you every day. We sent people to Southgard to look for you several times, but we never heard anything back. We all thought we'd never see." I sneered inwardly. Miss me. Back then, they were the ones who said they never wanted to see me again. It was them who drove me out of King's Landing. And now they say they miss me. It is just too ridiculous. I didn't answer him. I just stepped aside, pointing to my grandma behind me. My tone was flat. "My grandma is sick. It is very serious. We need the human placenta and 1,000-year-old ginseng from the Imperial Hospital. I came back to treat my grandma's illness." Leo only then noticed the grandma to the side. He saw that the grandma's face was pale. She was coughing and wheezing nonstop. He quickly stepped aside. His face was full of urgency. Quick, come in. Grandma isn't feeling well. Hurry inside and get some rest. I'll immediately send someone to fetch an Imperial physician from the Imperial Medical Academy, and to get the medicinal herbs," following Jade and Liu into the house. In the courtyard, a grove of plum trees was planted. They were blooming a vibrant red, exactly the same as the year Arya passed away. It is just that looking at them again now. Only a chill was left in my heart. I crossed through the courtyard and walked to the main hall. Dad and Mom heard the commotion and hurriedly came out from inside. Mom was wearing a brocade dress embroidered with begonia flowers. She wore a golden swaying hairpin in her hair. Fine wrinkles had already appeared at the corners of her eyes, no longer as young and beautiful as she once was. Dad was wearing a set of cyan official robes, his face stern and imposing. His temples were also streaked with a few strands of white hair. When they saw me, their expressions changed instantly. Mom's tears immediately started to fall. She hurried over, reaching out her hands as if to hug me, but stopped them in midair, trembling nonstop. Her lips quivered, muttering, "Nianan. My Nianan. You are back. You are really back." Dad stood rooted to the spot. His body stiffened slightly, his gaze was incredibly complex, a mix of surprise and guilt, hartosh and some other indescribable emotions. His lips moved, and after a long pause, he finally managed to say, "It is good that you are back. It is good that you are back." I looked at them, with not a single ripple in my heart. I just repeated what I had said before. Me grandma is seriously ill. She needs the placenta hominis and 1,000-year-old ginseng from the Royal Medical Institute. I ask for your help, Mom and Dad. Mom nodded quickly, her tears falling even harder. Okay. Mom will go arrange it right now. Go right now, Leo. You hurry to the Royal Medical Institute. No matter how much it costs. No matter what methods you have to use. You must bring back the medicinal herbs. Leo acknowledged with a sound, then turned and ran outside. His steps were so rushed it seemed like he was about to fly. Dad also quickly said, "Quick, help Grandma to the side room to rest. Get the best sweet and light the heater. Then have the kitchen stew some bird's nest congee to nourish Grandma's body." The servants hurried forward and helped Grandma to the side room. I followed behind them. Looking at this fancy room, I didn't feel a shred of envy. Back then, in the capital city, I lived in the most remote little woodshed. This fine room now is just a tool for them to make up for their guilt. I took my grandma's pulse and wrote a prescription. I had a servant go get the herbs and start brewing them. To stabilize Grandma's condition, Leo worked fast. In less than an hour, he had the placenta hominis and 1,000-year-old ginseng from the Imperial Medical Academy brought back. The head physician of the Imperial Medical Academy even came with him personally to take Grandma's pulse. After the head physician took her pulse, he said that Grandma had a cough and wheezing for many years, and coupled with her old age, her body had been weakened. With these 2 medicinal herbs, and with some slow recuperation, she would definitely get better. I personally brewed the medicine for Grandma, standing by the stove, watching the heat. Didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless. Lydia, Mom, and Dad just stood to the side, watching, not daring to say a single word. Their eyes were filled with cautious guilt. Lydia handed me a handkerchief, saying, "Little sis, wipe your sweat." I didn't take it, just focused on brewing the medicine. She wasn't angry either. She placed the handkerchief to the side and stood there quietly. Mom watched my skilled movements and asked softly, "Nina, all these years, you were in the southern frontier studying medicine with Grandma." I nodded. I let out a choked sound, as a sort of reply. Mom's tears started falling again. Sobbing, she said, "It is all Mom and Dad's fault. Making you suffer with Grandma at such a young age. If we hadn't sent you away back then, you wouldn't have had to suffer like this." Dad sighed. His tone was filled with self-blame. "It is Dad's fault. I wasn't thinking straight back then. I believed what others told me. I blamed you for Ayao's death, and I even sent you away. All these years, I've been in agony day after day, unable to sleep night after night. Always wondering if you were cold or hungry in the southern borderlands, if anyone was bullying you. I sent people to the southern border to find you several times, but they couldn't find a single trace of you," Dad thought. "Thought you had passed away long ago." Leo, with his eyes red, also said, "Little sis, I was wrong back then. I shouldn't have yelled at you, and I shouldn't have blamed you. Arya is gone. I felt terrible inside, so I took it all out on you. I've regretted it every day for all these years. If only I had looked after you properly back then. If only I hadn't lost my temper with you. You wouldn't have suffered so much, sister. Will you forgive your big brother? Okay?" I looked at them. I have so many mixed feelings inside. The grievances of all these years can't be erased by just a few words of apology. Back when they despised and abandoned me, they never thought about whether I would die on the road to the southern frontier. Back when I was in the southern frontier learning to gather herbs and brew medicine, getting covered in injuries from my falls, They were in the capital enjoying their happy family life. Back then, as I watched the people in the village, all happy with their families, and was dying of envy. They never once thought of me, the daughter they'd abandoned. Now I am back. They say they regret it, say they miss me. But what is the use? I didn't say a word. Just poured the well-brewed medicine into the bowl and brought it to Grandma. Grandma drank the medicine. Her cough and wheezing indeed got a little better. Her complexion also got a bit rosier. She held my hand, told Mom and Dad about what happened with Wenyuan and Shulan back then. Nianan has suffered too much, you know, damn well what this is about. From now on, how you treat her. I'll be watching. If you let her suffer even the slightest bit of wrong again, I'll risk everything. These old bones won't let you get away with it. The parents hurriedly nodded, saying again and again, "We wouldn't dare, we wouldn't dare." Mom even went over to give Grandma a back massage, her attitude extremely respectful. In the days that followed, I took Grandma's pulse and brewed her medicine every day. Leo and my parents tried everything they could to get on my good side. Liam went out every day before dawn, bringing back all the famous snacks from Kingsburg: candied haws, osmanthus cakes, almond crisps, lotus pastries. The whole table was piled high with food. He said, "Sis, these are all the things you loved to eat as a kid. Eat some more." But he didn't know. I had never eaten these things when I was a child. These were all the things Ayao loved to eat. I couldn't even touch the leftovers. I shared these snacks with the servants in the courtyard. Ethan Liu watched, his eyes full of disappointment. But he didn't say anything. He just bought other things and brought them back the next day. Mother made me a lot of gorgeous brocade dresses, fine silks and satins, embroidered with exquisite flowers and birds. There were also all sorts of gold and jade hairpins, and pearl jewelry. They filled up my jewelry box. He personally combed my hair every day, styling it into all sorts of buns. While combing, he'd say, "Our Annie is so beautiful. She should wear pretty dresses, and wear pretty jewelry. It was Mother's fault before. I didn't treat you well. From now on, Mother will give you all the best things." I let him fuss over me, but I rarely wore those brocade dresses. I still preferred the coarse cloth clothes Grandma made for me. They were comfortable and freeing. Dad hired the best tutor in the capital city for me, to teach me how to read and write, composing poems and painting. Said he wanted to make up for everything I hadn't learned all these years. When my tutor taught me, he said in surprise, that I was unusually clever. I could grasp things with just a hint. I had a photographic memory, even more talented than many of the young ladies from the noble families in the capital. Even more talent. He meets that my Nianan is a talented girl, completely forgetting how he used to. He always feels that the people in the city are too calculating, not as sincere as the people in the stockade. I had Dad arrange a job for Aju. Aju is very strong and takes his work seriously. He also knew some martial arts, so Dad made him the head guard of the residence. He was in charge of more than 10 guards. Aju was a natural at it. Before long, he had the guards completely in line. Dad couldn't stop praising him, saying he was a rare talent. Tuanzi still followed me around every day. Sometimes I brew medicine in the courtyard. He would just lie on the medicine basket, perfectly still. Sometimes when I read, he would just lie on my book pages, behaving well, not causing any trouble. The servants in the manor were scared to death when they first saw Mochi, afraid he would bite them. Later, when they saw how gentle Mochi was, and even helped me shoo away flies and mosquitoes, they gradually weren't afraid anymore. Sometimes they'd even feed Mochi some millet grains. One day, Liam said he'd take me to the biggest temple fair in Kingsbridge. He said the temple fair was bustling with excitement, and had lots of fun stuff. I figured since Grandma was feeling better, and I was getting stir-crazy at home, so I agreed. Liam was overjoyed. He draped a thick fox fur cloak over me, and also tucked a hand warmer into my hands. He held my hand tightly the whole way, afraid that I would get lost. The temple fair was indeed as lively as he said. Acrobats, sugar painters, dough figurine makers, they had all sorts of stuff. Leo got me a rabbit-shaped sugar painting. He also bought me a cloth tiger, and said, "Sis, this cloth tiger is nice. Here, you can play with it." I took the cloth tiger, It was soft and felt nice. As we were walking, we saw a big crowd gathered up ahead. We squeezed in to take a look, and it was a fortune teller. Apparently, he was very accurate. Leo pulled me over and said, "Sis, let's get our fortune told too. Let's see what your future holds." The fortune teller saw me, and his eyes lit up. Stroking his beard, he said, "This young lady has a peculiar fate. She has been through many hardships in her early years, but she has a benefactor to help her. In the future, she will surely have great wealth and honor, blessed with both happiness and a long life. That is a rare and good fortune." Huh. Leo heard this, and grinned from ear to ear, rewarding the fortune teller with plenty of silver. But I didn't pay it any mind. Whether a destiny is good or not is always something you make for yourself. We strolled to the end of the temple fair. A group of people was walking towards me. Leading them was a lavishly dressed couple. With them was a pretty young lady wearing a pink brocade dress. She had a beaded flower pinned in her hair. Her expression held a hint of arrogance. I recognized them at a glance. It was my second uncle, Leo Vance, Aunt Susan, and their daughter, Lily Liu. Back when Yara passed away, they were there too. They even pretended to comfort Mom and Dad, but behind our backs, they were stirring up trouble, saying I was a jinx. Lily Liu saw us too. Her eyes lit up, strode over quickly, smiled, and said to Leo, "Big brother, you are here for the temple fair too, huh? This person looks very unfamiliar." Her gaze fell on me, carrying a hint of appraisal and disdain. She obviously didn't recognize me. Leo's expression darkened. He pulled me behind him protectively and said coldly, "This is my sister, Naya." Vera was stunned for a moment. Then a look of surprise appeared on her face. Then she put on a regretful act. She stepped forward to take my hand. I instinctively pulled away. Her hand froze in midair, somewhat awkwardly, but she still smiled and said, "Oh, so it is you, big sister. You've suffered all these years in the southern borderlands. Back when our younger sister passed away, Mom, Dad, and big brother were just muddle-headed for a moment to send you away. You really mustn't take it to heart." She spoke in such a sanctimonious way, but I saw the disdain and jealousy in her eyes. I spoke calmly, not answering him. I just looked at Second Aunt, scrutinizing her. I said, "Second Aunt, long time no see. Do you still remember that year before Clara passed away? You purposely brought over osmanthus cakes, saying it was to help Clara build up her strength. Clara really loved to eat them." Mrs. Shen's expression changed in an instant. Her eyes were a little panicked. Forcing a calm front, she said, "We're all family. Why be so formal, that child? Ayao is so lovable. Of course I dote on her." I looked at her flustered expression, and in my heart, I grew even more certain. Aya's death definitely has something to do with second uncle and second aunt. I was young back then. I didn't know any better. I just remember Aya ate the osmanthus cake that second aunt brought over. Not long after, something happened to her. I wanted to eat some too at the time. Aya gave me a piece. I thought it tasted a bit bitter. I didn't eat it. And now that I think about it, there must have been something wrong with that osmanthus cake. Back then, Mom and Dad doted on Arya. Arya was exceptionally intelligent. In the future, whether for a marriage alliance or inheriting the family fortune, she was always the first choice. But second uncle's family had always coveted Dad's official position and the family fortune. Lydia had mediocre talents, and her looks weren't as outstanding as Arya's. They must have been afraid that after Arya grew up, she would get in Lydia's way. That is why they ruthlessly decided to kill her. As for me, they thought I was dull and stupid. Even if I lived, I wouldn't amount to anything. Maybe they could even make me take the blame. So back then, when Mom and Dad sent me away, they were probably secretly very happy. Lydia didn't notice anything was wrong, and was still showing off on the side. "Sister, look at this new brocade dress I had made. It is made from the best silk and satin in the capital. And this flower, Daddy bought it for me. Isn't it pretty?" she said, deliberately puffing out her chest. Looking smug, Liu Jinyu immediately got angry at Nianwei. "Just shut up, my sister. Just got back, there is no need for you to be showing off here." Liu Nianwei pouted aggrievedly, her eyes reddened. Mrs. Shen hurriedly pulled him, pretending to scold. "You child, how could you talk like that? Hurry and apologize to your sister, though. She said that. There wasn't the slightest bit of sincerity in her eyes. Instead, she glared at me as if blaming me for being insensible. Second Uncle Liu Wangshuan smiled and tried to smooth things over. Nianan, it is good that you are back from now on. We're a family, let's live well together. What happened back then was all a misunderstanding. What is past is past. I sneered and nodded. Yeah, what is past is past. I just wonder about the osmanthus cake. Second aunt gave to a Yao back then. Is this also a misunderstanding? Mrs. Smith's face instantly turned deathly pale. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't say a word. Second uncle frowned as well. His gaze was somewhat evasive, avoiding Anya. What do you mean by that? It means nothing, I said indifferently. I just feel that Arya's death back then was suspicious. Such a perfectly healthy kid. How could she be gone just after eating a piece of osmanthus cake? Just then, an old man walked out from the crowd. It was Dr. Li, the doctor who treated Arya back then. He was retired by now, and was also visiting the temple fair. Hearing our conversation, his expression changed, instinctively wanting to get away. I spotted him and called out, "Dr. Smith." "Long time no see." Dr. Smith stiffened. He turned around and saw me, his expression turning even worse. Jingyu Liu recognized him. He quickly said, "Dr. Li, what are you doing here? You treated a Yao back then. Do you still remember?" Dr. Li nodded. His eyes were flustered. He didn't dare to look at me. I walked up and said, "Dr. Li, back then you treated a Yao and said she died of an illness. Is that right?" Dr. Li's face was deathly pale. He stammered, "Yes, yes." I stared into his eyes, saying word by word. "But how come I heard that a Yao was poisoned?" Dr. Li's body shuddered. He almost fell over. Second uncle and second aunt's expressions were even more ghastly. Jingyu Liu sensed something was wrong. He quickly asked, "Little sister, what do you mean by that? Didn't a Yao die from an illness? How could it be poisoning? Was it poisoning? Just ask Dr. Li and we'll know." I looked at Dr. Li. "Dr. Li, back then, did you realize that Aya was poisoned? It is just that you were threatened by someone, so you didn't dare to tell the truth." Dr. Li's lips were trembling. He glanced at second uncle and second aunt, then glanced at me finally. He sighed as if he had made up his mind. It was poisoning back then. When I took second Miss Liu's pulse, I discovered she had been given a slow-acting poison mixed into her food, and not easily detectable. I originally wanted to tell the truth. But second Master Liu found me, gave me a large sum of money, and threatened me, saying that if I dared to speak out he would kill my entire family. I was scared. So I lied and said it was an illness. As soon as these words were said, the whole crowd was in an uproar. Julian's face was ashen. He stared fixedly at second uncle and second aunt. It was you who killed Ada." Dad and Mom also rushed over. Hearing this, Mom fainted on the spot. Dad held Mom up, his eyes full of anger and disbelief. "Winston, Mrs. Shaw, how could you do such a heinous thing? I treated you well. Why would you do this to Ada?" Second uncle and second aunt's faces were deathly pale. They collapsed to the ground. Nora was so scared she burst into tears. "No, it wasn't us. We didn't do it. Mom and Dad didn't harm my younger sister. Whether you did it or not, we'll find out once we investigate," I said coldly. Back then, the one who gave Ada the osmanthus cakes was second aunt. The incident happened right after Ada ate the osmanthus cakes. As long as we find the servants from back then, we'll know once we ask. Also, I have here some poison testing grass that is unique to Nanjiang. No matter what kind of poison it is, as long as it touches the poison testing grass, it will turn black. Although the crumbs from the osmanthus cake back then are gone, but since second aunt was able to make it once, she definitely still has the same recipe. Lu Jinyu immediately had second uncle and second aunt arrested. They had people search second uncle's house again. Sure enough, they found some herbs for making poison, and also the maid who delivered osmanthus cakes to Arya back then. The maid confessed that it was second aunt who told her to add something to the osmanthus cakes. She also instructed her not to tell anyone. the evidence was conclusive. Second uncle and second aunt could no longer deny it. Mrs. Shen said tearfully, "I couldn't help it. When Yuan, your official rank is getting higher and higher, the family is getting richer and richer. And Ayao is so intelligent in the future. He will surely inherit everything. What will happen to our Nian Wei? I just wanted to pave a path for my daughter. For your daughter, you were going to get my Ayao killed? You were going to frame my Nianan." Dad was trembling all over with anger. He immediately had someone take second uncle and second aunt to the authorities, to be dealt with severely. After the authorities confirmed the facts, they sentenced second uncle and second aunt to immediate execution by beheading. Because Willow Nianwei was still young, spared the death penalty but banished from the capital, demoted to commoners, never to return to the capital, watching them wail and scream as they were dragged away. I felt not a shred of pity in my heart. They got what they deserved. Ayao has finally been avenged, dealt with second uncle and second aunt. The house was finally peaceful. Mom and Dad felt even more guilty toward me. They wished they could take all the best things in the world and offer them all to me. Leo, even more so, treated me like the apple of his eye. If anyone dared to say a single bad thing about me, he'd be the first one to object. Those servants who used to look down on me are now all incredibly respectful to me, terrified they might make me unhappy. I continued studying medicine with my grandma, and my grandma's health gradually got better. Her coughing and wheezing never acted up again. Many officials and young masters from prominent families in capital city heard that my medical skills were superb. They all come to see me for treatment. There was an official who had gout for many years. He was in so much pain he couldn't walk. The imperial physicians at the Royal Medical Academy couldn't cure him. I wrote him a prescription, combined with acupuncture. It wasn't long before he could walk normally again. There was also a lady from a noble house. She was diagnosed with infertility. She sought out all the famous doctors, but nothing worked. I treated her for half a year, and she got pregnant. My reputation grew and grew, and word of it reached the palace. The Empress Dowager had suffered from chronic headaches for many years. When an attack came, the pain was so bad she felt like she was dying. The physicians of the Imperial Hospital took turns treating the case, but they could only provide relief, not a complete cure. The Empress Dowager heard about my reputation and immediately issued a decree summoning me to the palace. On the day I entered the palace, Leo personally saw me off. He had me wear the most gorgeous brocade dress, wore my most precious jewelry. He said, "The palace has a lot of rules. Little sister, don't be afraid. If anyone bullies you, big brother will be waiting right outside the palace gate, even if I have to storm the palace. I'll get you out." I nodded. My heart felt warm for so many years. Brother finally became the one who protects me. After I entered the palace, the Empress Dowager sat on the phoenix throne looking at me. Her gaze was full of scrutiny. I paid my respects to the Empress Dowager. Then I stepped forward to take her pulse. The Empress Dowager's headaches were due to years of excessive worry and overthinking, combined with wind and cold entering her body, which stagnated in her head. It has been lingering for a long time. I gave the Empress Dowager acupuncture and also prescribed a recuperative formula. I said, "Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager, your illness is caused by stagnation. I will give you acupuncture to clear your meridians, and combined with herbal medicine for recuperation. In less than a month, you will definitely see improvement." The Empress Dowager was skeptical. She told me to do the acupuncture first. I took out the silver needles, steadily found the correct acupoints, and gently inserted them. Before long, the Empress Dowager said her headache had lessened quite a bit. Her energy improved too. After 7 straight days of acupuncture, the Empress Dowager's headaches never came back. She was overjoyed. She held my hand and said, "You are so young, child, but your medical skills are so superb. You are truly a promising talent. I am very fond of you. From now on, you can just take me as your god-grandmother." I hurriedly gave my thanks. Right then and there, the Empress Dowager rewarded me with lots of treasures and silks. She also asked me to visit the palace often to chat with her. The palace's imperial chefs also made all sorts of tasty treats for me every day. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince heard that my medical skills were superb. Also came to see me for treatment. He has practiced martial arts for many years. He has accumulated many old injuries on his body. They ache terribly on cloudy and rainy days. I took Tyson's pulse. I also examined his old injuries. I prescribed him remedies for both external application and internal use. I also taught him the method for massaging his acupressure points. The Crown Prince did as I said, in less than 3 months. His old wound was completely healed. It didn't hurt anymore. His Highness the Crown Prince is mild-tempered and generous to others. Seeing that I was well-behaved and sensible, and that my medical skills were superb, he took extra good care of me. He often brought me snacks and cool new things from the palace. He also took me for walks in the royal garden, and told me interesting stories about the palace. One time I was gathering herbs in the royal garden, and accidentally tripped on a rock. Kale quickly caught me and nervously asked if I was hurt. I shook my head and said I was fine, but he still carefully checked my hands and feet. He was only relieved after making sure I wasn't hurt. At first, all the noble young ladies of the imperial city were jealous of me, thinking I was just a wild girl from Nanjiang, unworthy of receiving the favor of the Empress Dowager and the Crown Prince. They often gossiped about me behind my back, saying bad things about me. Once a few young ladies from noble families were drinking tea in the garden. Seeing me, they deliberately mocked me. "Ooh, isn't this Miss Willow from the Southern Territories? Dressed so shabbily. How dare you come to a place like this?" I ignored them, but they pushed their luck. They came forward and tried to push me. Just then, the Crown Prince was passing by and saw this scene. His face immediately darkened. He scolded, "You have some nerve. How dare you be rude to the Empress Dowager's god-granddaughter?" Those young ladies from noble families turned pale with fear. They quickly knelt down to beg for forgiveness. The Crown Prince said coldly, "Miss Nianan has excellent medical skills and a kind heart. Not only do you not respect her, you even dare to bully her. If you dare to do this again in the future, don't blame me, the Crown Prince, for being merciless." From then on, no one dared to bully me anymore. When those young ladies from noble families got sick, they all came to me for treatment. I cured them one by one. Gradually, they became very respectful towards me. They also often came to hang out with me and gave me all sorts of small gifts. Brother Azu was doing better and better in the mansion. Dad thought very highly of him. He even recommended him to the Minister of War. Let him go to the military camp for some training. Aju performed outstandingly in the military camp. He was brave and fierce in battle. Before long, he was promoted. He became a junior general. Tuanzi followed me into the palace. At first, everyone in the palace was afraid of him. Later, when they saw he was gentle and obedient, and even helped me chase away bugs, they gradually grew to like him. The Empress Dowager even often had the servants feed Tuanzi small millet grains, saying that Tuanzi was a clever little darling. On this day, the Empress Dowager hosted a banquet, inviting all the officials and young masters from noble families in the capital city. I followed my mom and dad into the palace. The Empress Dowager took my hand and had me sit beside her, saying to everyone, "This is my god-granddaughter, Liu Nian. Her medical skills are superb, and she is well-behaved and sensible. You all should get closer to her in the future." Everyone came forward one after another to greet me. Lu Jinyu stood by my side, a proud look on his face, as if to say, "This is my little sister, the little sister I dote on the most." Mom and Dad sat to the side, looking at me. Their eyes were full of gratification and doting love. At the banquet, the Crown Prince handed me a piece of lotus pastry and said with a smile, "Nian," and this was newly made by the imperial chef. "Have a taste, it is very sweet." I took the lotus pastry and said in a low voice, "Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince." Just as I took a bite, a few crumbs stuck to the corner of my mouth. The Crown Prince smiled and took out a handkerchief, intending to help me wipe it off. Liu Jinyu hurriedly came forward, snatched the handkerchief, and said, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, I'll do it. I can take care of my little sister just fine." The Crown Prince chuckled and didn't insist, but his eyes were full of doting affection. The Empress Dowager looked at us and said to Mom and Dad with a smile, "Wen Yuan Shu Lan, your Nianan is truly a good girl. I can see that the Crown Prince is interested in Nianan. Why don't we arrange this marriage and make Nia the Crown Princess?" Mom and Dad were immediately overjoyed. They hurriedly expressed their thanks. My face flushed in an instant. I lowered my head, feeling sweet inside. The Crown Prince blushed too, looking at me. His eyes were filled with joy. Not long after, the Emperor issued an imperial decree, betrothing me to the Crown Prince, to be wed on an auspicious day. The entire capital was abuzz. Everyone said I was the luckiest girl in the world, an orphan girl returned from the southern border. Became the Crown Princess in a single leap, also doted on by the Empress Dowager, the Emperor, her mom and dad, and her big brother. Truly the envy of everyone. On the day of the grand wedding, a 10-mile dowry procession, the deafening sound of gongs and drums. The Crown Prince himself, riding a fine tall horse, led a massive wedding procession to the Atwood residence. At the bridal procession from the manor, Leo held my hand and, step by step, walked me to the front of the bridal sedan chair. His eyes were red-rimmed, he said with a choked voice, "Little sister, from now on, you are the Crown Princess. You have to take good care of yourself. If the Crown Prince dares to bully you, no matter who he is, your brother will have your back." I nodded. Tears also started to fall. Dad and Mom stood at the doorway sobbing uncontrollably. Mom held my hand and said, "Nian, and my dear daughter, you must take care of yourself in the palace from now on. Dad and Mom will come to the palace often to see you." The bridal sedan chair made its way towards the royal palace. The streets were packed with onlookers. All the people praised how beautiful I was, how fortunate I was, sitting in the bridal sedan chair. I remembered the scene of being driven out of Viridia when I was 5. I remembered my days in the southern frontier. I remembered every little thing after returning to Viridia. I couldn't hold back my tears. This time they were tears of joy. After becoming the Crown Princess, the Crown Prince doted on me completely. No one in the palace dared to neglect me. He knew I liked to study medicine. He specially built an apothecary for me in the palace. It was filled with all kinds of rare and precious herbs, so I could study medicine in peace. Whenever the concubines and palace maids in the palace felt unwell, they would all come to me for treatment. I would help cure them one by one. They were all very grateful to me. Life in the palace was very harmonious. The Empress Dowager even treated me like her own granddaughter. Whatever good things she had, she would give them to me first. She also often had me eat with her and talk. If anyone in the palace dares to give me a dirty look, the Empress Dowager will be the first to object. A year later, I got pregnant. The Crown Prince was ecstatic. The Emperor and the Empress Dowager were even more overjoyed. A general amnesty was declared across the empire. The Crown Prince stayed by my side every day. He brought me tea and water, took such careful care of me, afraid I'd be wronged in the slightest. Leo and Mom and Dad often came to the palace to see me, bringing me lots of good things to eat. Leo also said that if I had a boy, he'd teach him martial arts. And if I had a girl, just spoil him, don't let anyone bully him. After 10 months of pregnancy, I gave birth to a pair of fraternal twins. The boy's features looked like Tyson's. The girl's features looked like mine. They were both fair-skinned and chubby, so adorable. The Emperor named the boy Sean. He named the girl Celia. A general amnesty was declared across the land. He rewarded all the civil and military officials in the court. Julian came to see me, holding the 2 children. He couldn't stop smiling, he said. "My little nephew and niece are so cute. From now on, Uncle will always have your back. If anyone dares to bully your uncle, beat him up." Mom and Dad looked at the child, smiling until their faces were covered in wrinkles, saying our Willow family finally has someone to carry on the line. No need for regrets anymore. Grandma is strong and healthy. She often comes to the palace to see me and the kids. She even teaches my daughter, Cynthia, to study medicine. Caleb is extraordinarily clever. He learns very quickly. Grandma said that in the future, he will surely become a miracle doctor as amazing as me. Brother Azu also got married and had a son. His wife is the daughter of the Minister of War, gentle and virtuous. They had a son. As sturdy as Aju repeatedly achieved military merits in the army camp, was promoted to great general, became a pillar of the imperial court later. The crown prince ascended the throne as emperor. I became the empress. He doted on me alone. No consorts in the harem said that for this lifetime, having just me as his wife was enough. Our son Leo became a wise and brilliant crown prince, hard-working and studious, skilled in both literature and martial arts. My daughter, Luna, inherited my medical skills. When she grew up, she became a female physician in the imperial palace. Saved a lot of people. Dad and Mom lived out their later years in peace. Leo married the girl he loved. She was a gentle and kind young lady from a good family. The two of them had a great relationship. They lived a happy and blissful life. In my spare time, I would take the kids to visit the southern frontier. The people of Green Bamboo Village would see me, and they would all smile and say, "I've done well for myself. I built a school for the village so all the kids in the village can learn to read and write. Also built a clinic, so the people in the village don't have to travel far to see a doctor anymore." Granny and Hunter Dad are both still alive and well. Seeing my children, they'd smile from ear to ear, stuffing into the kids' hands wild fruits and dried sweet potatoes. Sometimes I stand on the mountaintop of Green Bamboo Fortress looking at the lush green grass and trees, thinking of that abandoned little girl from back then, thinking of Aya. I think Aya is watching me from heaven. She must be happy for me too. She was so kind, she would surely want me to be happy. Those past pains and grievances have all become like smoke and clouds of the past. As for me now, I have a grandma who dotes on me. I have parents who, out of guilt, are trying to make it up to me. I have an older brother who protects me from all harm. I have a gentle and doting husband. I have cute and sensible children, and my people and subjects who respect me. From that disliked and awkward little girl, I've grown into an empress respected by all, doted on by everyone. I've become the happiest person in the world. For the rest of my life, there will only be warmth. No more coldness or grievances. Only full of love and happiness, year after year, day and night, endlessly.